Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in once again to the Duval Dive. Of course, I am Kyle Nash, the student of the game.
I'm Travis Holmes with BigCatCountry.com.
And you're listening to this thing on the Believe Podcast Networks. Divers and Duval devout alike, this is the time of year where me, Kyle Nash, the student of the game, is just like every single one of you. FOMO all over the place. But don't you worry, Travis Holmes, BigCatCountry.com is on scene there for a lot of minicamp action. And is it OTAs? Is OTAs? Minicamp is later.
It's a mixture because they actually did it in a unique way this year because they did OTAs, then minicamp. Then we're going to go back to OTAs on Monday. So it's actually a weird little situation where they did it in a unique way, which we talked to Cohen about on, what was that, Tuesday? I just thought that it was really interesting. They wanted to calm it down at the end. So they just said, all right, it's going to be competitive now and then calm down on Monday. And I'm like, all right.
I can relate to the psychology to that there too. But following you on Twitter, of course, Travis D. Holmes, on all the socials, of course, you had a lot of interesting things to say. Now, granted, and I don't want anybody out here being all like, oh, the media always glazes the Have you seen the show? My dude is usually trying to tell you all the things that could go wrong. My dude usually has the "this team makes me drink" shirt already. Now, granted, not typically coming off of a 13-win season either, but still.
Right.
But you had some things out there, Travis, that lifted my eyebrows, specifically how much more early on BTJ and Trevor are finding each other.
That's it. And it's not just finding each other because, I mean, yeah, and to the folks that talk about the fact that, well, the Jaguars media is always going to hype up everything. I'm like, name the last year that I, Travis D. Holmes, hyped up this Jaguars organization in the offseason. I wait because it has not been since the Urban Meyer hiring. Like I don't recall once where I was legitimately excited going into an offseason, and I wasn't even excited necessarily going into this offseason. You haven't heard me raving about BTJ. I've been always cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping, but I need to be sold on that. And today was the first day that I expressly said out loud to more than one person, hey, this might be right. He might be right. Like he might be all right. Like, because this felt very much closer to the 2024 offseason for Brian Thomas Jr. than anything that we saw last year. And that's at this time of year or later. So like, I'm here for it. Hopefully he again keeps this up when pads go on, because again, I'm still walking that tightrope or walking that fence of saying we will see when the pads come on, but also this at this point of year looks significantly better. I'm talking 110% better than anything we saw at this point last season. So, hey man, shout out to BTJ, shout out to whoever he's been training with this offseason, and hopefully they keep this thing right and keep this thing going.
There you go, Social. He just mentioned the training and the staff and all there too. He says off subject, can we get some love for the strength and conditioning staff? You could see the gains with muscle bulk and explosiveness up and down the roster, and this training continues as well too. On the same ilk, Sunstain specifically says that man BTJ gained some muscle. Now I need to see some attitude on the field. Did you see that he's got more mass to him when you were there in person?
No, he it's not, and it's to Social Alky's point, like it's not just BTJ, but it is BTJ. Like he does look better, and his comments about I was on the Jason on the JDL episode, on the DeLugo episode, I was cautious about. I hate to try to lean into any injuries or anything like that. Like when someone says, hey, it no longer hurts to run, I'm no longer having these issues, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That all might be true, but I'm never going to be the one to use that as an excuse, because I'm always the guy who says, if you make the field, I'm going to judge you based on the tape. It is what it is. I'm sorry, but these are the rules. So saying all that, I can still say, looking at this, hey man, that might have been true. Like looking at what I'm looking at right now, I can objectively say this don't look like that. And that doesn't mean that I'm wrong. That doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily materialize when pads get on and when when those hits start flying and everything else and those bullets start going. But it does mean that apples to apples, OTAs to OTAs, non-pass to non-pass, this looks significantly different. And hopefully that does mean that he is going to be better, that Travis Hunter is going to be better, that all these guys are going to be better, because yes, they do look like they're in better shape. They do look like they put on a little bit mass, and there's positive there.
And there's a comment here that this moment in this offseason will play the role of Travis Holmes based on this comment. I said what I said. This is the second year in the system. It could just be confidence. I know a day in time when Travis D. Holmes on this show may impossibly said, hey, it's his next year in this Liam Cohen system. He should be looking better. Now, granted, maybe the O-line was doing fewer penalties, I hope. All that to say, one more point, Robert Lambertson in the comments. I know that we saw the deep ball clip of BTJ's catch, but did you guys peep out Eric Armstead and Trayvon Walker on the inside doing stunts? I don't know if you caught that or not, but that's interesting that they're working in that way. And if they're working together like that, that's something that could come as an interior move if they're ever on the interior together, or even and in interior as well. That's what's compelling about that to me, is you don't know what part of the line they're necessarily going to be attacking with that. That's fascinating.
No, I'm looking forward to when these guys get pads in, so we can actually start evaluating the trenches. That's when everything's going to kind of flip, to Liam Cohen's point from Tuesday's presser. Is when you get these guys in pads, you can see what's real and what's fake with the movement and the inability to block. Because offensive linemen, you guys are like DBs. Y'all hold every play. It's just whether or not it's going to be called. We are in agreement there. You hold, we hold. Sir, they're not calling it.
Yeah, you just got to keep your hands inside, man. I mean,
yeah, sure. All right, I hear you.
I got called on a hand on a play once where my hand was pointed outside. So I want to hear this. I hold every play crap. Anyway,
all right, you say so. It sounds good, but nah, man, y'all, you know why we're here. Like it's a definite high with the BTJ situation and a definite high with the passing game across the board. But we still got some things that probably needs to shake out a little bit throughout this offseason to kind of figure out where this Jaguars team true ceiling is going to lie. And one of those big areas is, this running back room. Where is it going to land? What is it going to be? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you're premising it that way, because I would even add this, right? How many episodes, how many times has the media, us included, around Duval talked about Liam Cohen targeting 12 and 13 personnel? You're doing that with designs on running the damn ball. I don't think we're surprising anybody here, right? So the operative question I'm asking throughout, and Travis, I know that as always, we have slightly different approaches to mostly every topic here on the show. This is why the Duval Dive is such a great conversation on a regular basis, along with you divers. For me, the question I'm asking throughout is, are they done building? Now, granted, this front office is never truly done, obviously. Yeah. But are we seeing the elements of week one forming now, and all that kind of stuff? And if you aren't, well, I don't know. Travis, this is the part where I'll hand you the ball. What's your thoughts?
I don't know, man, because we've spoken a few times over this past week as far as you and I offline, as far as the injury situation with Chris Rodriguez, knowing that the team expects him to be back. To those who maybe have not been paying attention, maybe not, you haven't been locked in with the OTAs or the minicamp.
Maybe you were out in the middle of the Atlantic or something. Who knows?
Yes, like you on vacation, right? It hasn't been officially reported as far as what the exact injury is or what the exact procedure was for Chris Rodriguez, but what we do know is that he did have a procedure this offseason, reportedly, to an injury that happened throughout his offseason training. And that the expectation is for him to be full go come training camp per multiple team sources. I mean, that's been reported, again, multiple different ways. We wrote about it on BigCatCountry.com. Ryan O'Halloran wrote about it on Jaguars.com or Jacksonville.com. Everybody's kind of been talking about it. Mia Bryant was one of the first people I saw mentioning it on her pod. But basically, that's what we do know, or what we believe we know from the reporting. At the end of the day, I don't blame fans. I don't blame even media for asking questions or surrounding what that injury is, how long it's going to take, if there's any setbacks or anything along those lines. And I only mention that because you're coming off of a season where you just had Caleb Bransall injury that they thought he might come back, and you got Jalen McLeod, again, an injury that happened in the preseason, never played it down. You got Texans running back, Joe Mixon, Christian Wilkins, the defensive lineman. There's a list of guys who we recently saw. They thought they were going to be out for a small time frame, and they never played a down in the 2025 season. So
it always seems like there's at least one per division, I'll say, where that happens.
Yeah. So like that's kind of where I'm kind of what I'm looking at when I say like, and you even have cases like let's go back to the 2024 season. You got cases with Gabe Davis and Eric Armstead when you signed those guys in free agency with a known injury, and they never fully became the player you envisioned until the following season, if they ever came back at all. Like, really, in Gabe's case.
Gabe, you got to ask it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Like last year, Patrick McCarry, he struggled the entire season after dealing with his offseason injuries. So you see where I'm going with this. This isn't a created thought. This is literally where my mind works. Like when it's medical, I'm not a doctor. I'm not pretending to know any of that. I'm simply saying, hey, and that's just a small part of the conversation with this running back room for me. But Correct. Just to start the running back conversation off, like starting here, how do you feel about Rodriguez and Tootin as your starting duo, assuming health, before even seeing him on the field? Like, let's just start there.
Is it a lock that they're your guys? And we'll talk more about that on Friday. Sure. One hopes, but I mean, listen, I'm already on record saying that the real Tank Bigsby can stand up, and his name is Chris Rodriguez, right? So but you got to wonder, neither of these guys, Tootin or C-Rod, are, and I'm going to air quote this, proven assets, right?
Fair.
So from that extent alone, it's already a mixed bag, and you're hearing a lot of hype even surrounding UDFAs. I'm even hearing blasphemies that yeah, exactly, where LaQuinn Allen's future may be a question, which
amen.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby. But
amen.
Yeah, see, it's the socials with me. I want to see LaQuinn Allen Jr. involved in the pass game more this season. I'm with that. I want to see that. I want to okay. Let me refocus.
But you don't want to know. You don't want to give it away that you're passing the ball just because the guy's on the field. Like it's not to say he can't run.
Hold on. If LaQuinn's on the field, you think people gonna be thinking pass? Come on, dog.
Yes, I do personally.
Oh,
but that's just me.
Okay.
I don't know, but I mean, overall, you got to assume the team's going to keep like 4 of the 6 primary backs that we've seen on the roster between Chris Rodriguez, Bashaw Tootin, LaQuinn Allen, DJ Dallas, Amir Abdullah, and Jamari Taylor. I just want to make sure I got all the main guys. I personally wouldn't be shocked if Jamari made the roster, but I equally wouldn't be shocked if any of those last 3 guys that I just named, DJ Dallas, Amir Abdullah, or Taylor, didn't even make the 53-man roster. Right. Like, that's a wide range of landing points on where this thing could go. And I'm just like, all right, the Jaguars are 32nd in the NFL in 2026 positional spending for the running back position. So that's for a team that lost Travis Etienne in free agency. They didn't draft a running back in the draft. They'll likely be leaning on Bashaw Tootin this season, likely. And he didn't, honestly, just again being transparent, he did not force Travis Etienne off the roster. He's just the recipient of the open role because Travis Etienne's asking price was too high. Like, I won't lie.
Several times they were close enough, and the number was far enough apart, right?
Yeah. So, like, I'm not trying to lie. I'm not trying to make it into a thing that it's not. I'm just honestly saying that I have questions, and I don't think that's unreasonable for anyone in this fan base to have questions. And they probably shouldn't be thrown up into an island for saying, hey, man, I don't know what this is. We're going to find out together. Hopefully it lands. But if it don't land, what are your options, basically?
Okay. No, and that's a lot of it, too. But let's pose the question. I think this is where you're wanting to go. Let's say these people who are here in the building, on the roster currently working out, if one of them is missing, what do you do? What are the other options? Where could you even go potentially?
That was a similar question that Dilla was asking. Oh, sorry. Jacksonville Jaguars favorite insider E. Dilla asked this kind of on the socials last week. Like, what options exist out there if the team decides that they want to move on from either one of the depth guys if they're not working out? Like, whether or not you have a contingency plan, like let's say Chris Rodriguez isn't in top football shape early on, or you have got, I don't know, Bayshaw he's not ready to take over the role for whatever reason, or you don't love what you're seeing from Jamari Taylor or LeQuint or any of the other depth options. Basically, yeah, that's kind of what he put out there. The only move that I could potentially see coming from a running back is since Rodriguez is messed up. That's basically what Idillo put out there. That was the quote. And I'm just wondering, who are the guys who can give you an additional bite at the apple to kind of potentially land another kind of starting running back? So we know how these guys feel as far as the coaching staff is concerned. We know what they're looking for because they've directly told us in multiple pressers throughout this past season, like, hey, this is what we deem to be important as far as the running back. The ability to make dudes miss, like tackles, contact balance, vision, breaking tackles, and all of those kind of metrics. So then I immediately asked the question, similar, with students of the game, what metrics measure that? What numbers are we looking
straight
for?
to KPIs? Okay.
Well, because we look at film all day. Like, folks don't know. Like, we look at film all day, and it's not just film. So find me the metrics, and then I'll use those metrics to let me look at some more film. Maybe I'm missing the guy who's a diamond in the rough. So I'm looking at stuff like, EPA. That rushing EPA that measures the efficiency and overall effectiveness normally. Like, that's in a situation where you have a 4-yard game on 3rd and 3, that's a positive EPA. If you have a 4-yard game, that same 4-yard game, but it's like 3rd and 10 or 2nd and 10, that's a negative EPA, because again, it's about the outcome. It's the helping that outcome got to move forward. If you have rushing yards over expectation, I know some folks hate that because they use tracking data. Some folks love it. And this coaching staff has mentioned it, multiple times in like their pressers or in passing conversation. That's normally a good metric for like measuring like a running back's vision, his ability to create beyond the play call by using that same tracking data, field position, defensive alignment, and blocking at the time of the time of the handoff. And rushing success rate, that's how often the team stays on schedule. Like if you gain 4 yards 4 yards or more, I should say, on first down, 60% more on second down, or if you convert the 3rd and 4th down. And we all know what yards after contact is. That's easy. Like, that's just
about that yak all the time.
Yeah, we know what that is.
That's the whole thing that started the Make Etienne Great Again campaign. The thing, which is now Make Everbank Great Again. But whatever.
So, and I know there's a lot of guys out there, because I'm a football guy who was also a nerd. I am a football guy who was an accountant. Like, I have an accounting degree, like from college. Like, I'm a numbers guy and a football guy. So trust me when I know there's a group of fans out there listening to this right now. Man, we don't need all this. We got eyes. We watch film.
You just made me self-conscious for the first time. I don't have my glasses on. Hold on. I'm a data guy too. See, there we go.
That's just it though. Like, I hear anyone who tells me straight up, man, shut up. We don't need all that, nerd. Like, we got this. We know what we watching on film. But how often in the NFL do you have a running back who's like dominant in one system and then he becomes a free agent and he just disappears in another system? Because like maybe he has a great offensive line and he's only dominant because he's able to kind of get his speed up. He's contact.
Yeah.
Who was that?
DeMarco Murray.
Like, he's only getting contact beyond the line of scrimmage, so he's really good at breaking tackles at that point. Like, there's a boatload of running backs who's like that. Like, so like if you have a bad offensive line, he's gonna be hit behind the line of scrimmage. You want to know if he's gonna work good in your system. So that's you using these metrics to help you find the best situation that's going to work in where you're coming from. So we're approaching training camp now. Who are some reasonably low cost options? Maybe some low cost, high reward guys who could potentially be considered in Jacksonville. That's what we're here to talk about. Ready to get into it, bro?
Yeah, hey, I know at least one person in the comments is they've already predicted one of our candidates.
Ooh, all right, let's get to it then.
Now, granted, he mentions him from the wrong team at this point, but nonetheless, Najee Harris, the former Los Angeles Charger who dealt with some injuries, is certainly on the board. Now, I'm never going to say injuries are positive. However, from a business standpoint, you have to think it's reducing his price in the coming season.
I mean, that's fair, but like we last saw him, the former Pittsburgh Steeler, last year. He was on he played for like 3 weeks with the Los Angeles Chargers after he signed a 1-year, $5 million contract. And
which, by the way, really quick, I want the record to show neither of us called him San Diego. That's a win. Anyways,
folks thought he was going to be the co-starter next to Omarion Hampton, and he ruptured his Achilles tendon after he only had 21% of the snaps, and then he ended up missing the remainder of the year at that point.
Right.
But the last time he was healthy, he posted 4 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons with the Steelers, and he didn't miss a single game. Now he's not the most efficient guy, and this Jacksonville Jaguars coaching staff seemed to be high on that whole efficiency thing, but he was really efficient last year, especially in run success rate, where he was first in the league, and yards after contact, where he was 7th in the league when he got hurt on those, again, small sample size, 21% of those snaps. So he's been taking visits this all season, but he ain't signed with the team yet. But it's kind of one of those things, again, if you don't believe in either whatever, Bayshall is going to become, or whatever is going to happen, with the backup options, at least it gives you another guy who you feel like is going to be potentially a top starter.
Yeah, no, I don't even have much to add to that. I think you pretty much nailed it. And yes, Sunstain, I saw your question. The answer to your question is yes. Yes, he did. That absolutely happened. That was a thing.
These folks with fireworks, man. That's between him and a tight end from Cleveland. What was he messed his face up and everything, right?
But real quick, I gotta stop. I gotta stop here because I know we joked about another guy because I said something silly when we were talking about it. Right there in the comments.
See, man,
it's Kamara.
Why are we doing this? So he says Alvin Kamara, and
I was joking.
But there's a lot of guys. Let me nip this in the bud now. There's a lot of guys out here that we aren't going to talk about, and we ain't list them. It's like Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, Jeremy Nichols, Alvin Kamara is one of them. Like, it's a trade candidate. Like, there's a few others because, like, let's say Joe Mixon, he missed the entire season last year with that mysterious foot injury that looked to be short term, and then he never played. Mm-hmm. Eckler and McNichols, they're both primarily third down passing options at this point in the career. You're not moving LaQuint Allen off the roster just to pay more money to get another guy who do the same thing. That don't make no kind of sense. Right. There was even guys like James Conner and Alvin Kamara. They both look like a shell of themselves last year.
Well, and Kamara is not an actual runner. He is a running back. That he's a slot, what it is? He's a slot receiver that lines up in the backfield. He is not the running back that Liam Cohen is looking for. Period.
He's a much older and
he's older.
An adequate version of Travis Etienne.
Yeah,
I personally think that's all that the Saints did when they got Travis Etienne. They got a younger Alvin Kamara. I think that's actually a reasonable landing point of where he is.
I'll say this, and by the way, we've said it before, and yeah, I agree. But Travis Etienne's gotten 1,000 yards on the ground lately. I can't remember the last time Kamara's done that.
Kamara's older, but like he looked like again, he looked out of it, bro. And he's playing on an expiring contract. He's entering year 10 in the NFL, which also most people don't think about this. I always think about comp picks and all this stuff because, again, I'm a math guy. And this team generally loves guys who are playing on expiring contracts because then if they allow that contract to expire, they can get a comp pick up to a 3rd round pick. If you're entering if you're 10 years or more in the NFL, as Alvin Kamara would be following this season, that means if a team trades for them, it's only going to be a short-term rental because you can only get a comp pick. The best comp pick you can get for that guy after 10 years in the league is a 5th round pick. So what pick are you even giving up for an Alvin Kamara to then you're going to get a 5th round back? Like, you have to be given a 7th round just to feel good about that. That's not going to happen realistically. And it's the same thing with Eric Armstead because he's entering year 12. So like, you're not trading a guy like that unless you can get a 3rd or 4th round pick, or you simply doing it for cap reasons. I just need folks to understand how that works. If you have any more other questions, go to Spot Track. They have a great breakdown as far as caps, the comp pick kind of formula. But yeah, 10 years in the league or more, the best pick you can get back is a 5th round pick. So you're just not trading for a lot of guys unless you're doing it for like a 7th round pick, and then you're making up a little bit there. Make sense?
No, that's all great. And I first of all, like, we were gonna shut down Kamara just by the fact that he doesn't run the football that way, but then you went all full math on this. Hold on.
Again.
Anyway,
again, I like numbers, so I'm looking at stuff like that. Like, hey man, maybe it might make sense, but it ain't making no sense. Like, because who's gonna give up Alvin Kamara for a 7th round pick just so they can get a 5th round pick after they let his contract expire? It don't make sense. It's not gonna happen. Sorry, bro. Next guy up, Miles Sanders. And he was on a 1 year deal, one year, $1.3 million deal with the Cowboys, which is crazy. Like, and he had a solid start last year, 5.8 yards a carry, 20 rushes in the early part of the season, but then he was on IR by week 5 with a knee injury and surgery. So like, he's real interesting because his biggest issue is always staying healthy. But at $1 million is what his last contract was. That's that minimum range at this point. What you're really talking about, getting a guy like that. And if you think that he can be good in 3 of the 4 areas that you deem to be important, he was first in rushing yards over expectation last year. He was 9th in run success rate and first in yards after contact. Again, small sample size. That's the problem. Man, playing behind that Dallas Cowboys offensive line, again, that's the question. But yeah, at this point, I mean, he's 3 years out from his last season with major production. But he does, when he plays, he's a good running back. So like, for a vet minimum contract, you ain't getting much better than that from my perspective. And I expect him to get a call from somebody around training camp. That's just my opinion. Maybe it might be the Jaguars if they don't love what they're seeing. But again, from the depth guys or even from the top guys, because you're just betting on an injury, sort of like a Dennis Gardeck kind of situation, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And hey, listen, I talk about how smart the divers are on a regular basis. Robert came in predicting Najee. Our next item up for bids, called out by Social Alky in the comments, with the Cardinals part with Benson. Funny you asked that question, Travis.
Yes. Bro, he's really interesting though. Like, cause they got such a crowded backfield in Arizona. Like, you guys, if you pay any attention outside of Jacksonville and just take a quick look at the Jacoby Brissett led Arizona Cardinals roster, they drafted Jeremiah Love. They signed Tyler Algier in free agency. They recently restructured James Conner's contract, paying him $5 million less as a 31-year-old running back in the final year of his contract. Like, okay, it feels clear that they're preparing to move on from Trey Benson. Like, and he still has 2 years left on his rookie contract at this point. He rushed for, 290? 290 yards across 13 games in his rookie season, 4.6 yards a carry. And he was injured after 4 games last year, but he did cook. He did look good in those 29 carries before injury, 5.5 yards a carry and 13 receptions. Like, if you got a $1.3 million salary, that's the same salary as the Miles Sanders we were talking about, and 2 years of team control, that's a really good deal for a guy who is, again, good in a lot of the areas that they seem to care about. 2nd in the NFL in rushing yards over expectation, and 10th in the NFL in yards after contact per attempt. So, like, again, you're not looking at a bad situation. This is just more like the Tank Bigsby trade, but the Jaguars being the team giving up picks at this point. Instead of Jaguars giving up the player and getting picks back, the Jaguars will be the ones giving up the draft picks and getting the player back, if that makes sense, like a day 3 pick. I could see that happening again if you're in the late preseason at that point. I don't know.
No,
I don't know
he's a compelling case in there too. And listen, he's young. I like the 2 years of control thing. And again, somebody who's going to hit between the tackles. And I know that there was a negative EPA in there too, but let's also think about this. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that the Jacksonville Jaguars have a better offensive front than the Arizona Cardinals. Call me crazy, but you're not playing with the backup quarterback. Correct. Also accurate. Yeah, you got a franchise guy, you got a passing game that's going to prevent the box from being, crammed, so to speak. It's a fascinating picture. I'll put it that way.
As difficult as it might be, like, having this conversation, like, because I know a lot of fans who I've hinted at this conversation with a few people, and like, they're not going to trade for another running back after they just signed a guy in this offseason. I present to you Exhibit A, De'Ami Brown. They signed him as a free agent on a $10 million contract and traded for another receiver to replace him by week 8. If you need another example, I'll give you a second one. Fred Johnson.
I was going to say it if you didn't.
They signed him as a free agent, traded him before week 1. You think they wouldn't trade for another running back if Rodriguez isn't able to get out of the recovery room, or maybe he's just not up to speed early as far as football shape? Because in shape don't mean football shape. We've established that again with the Eric Armstead situation, even last year, and the Gabe Davis situation. So like, he's on a $6 million guaranteed contract. Like, the contract's actually $10 million, but $6 million of it is what's guaranteed. if you think that's going to stop you from drafting or trading another running back for a day 3 pick or something along those lines, if you think that's the guy you want, man, you got more confidence than I do. And he also returns kicks. So like they got 4 running backs on the team control in that scenario for at least the next 2 years, plus DJ Dallas currently on a 1-year deal. Like if that were the situation where they'd go, that's exactly how it worked out, and that's not a bad situation for this team, bro.
Yeah, I gotta say this. I didn't know where the Duval divers were gonna land on this, Travis. I got to tell you, the comments are all over the place. First of all, Preston from the top rope doing what he does best. I mean, if only we extended Etienne, but
you could literally no. Hear me out, Preston. PT. You could literally sign every one of these guys for less money than you signed Etienne. I could take all the bites at the apples and sign literally every single person we've talked about, plus another player probably, for less than they signed Etienne and just the guaranteed money. This is not an equal comparison, bro. I would take 7, 8, 9 bites at the apple at that point than taking the one Etienne who I already knew was limited. I don't think,
Well, there is a Jacksonville Jaguar out there that's about to play in a championship. Social Alki cites James Robinson for Louisville. But like, this is where the comments are going. There's even a Natron memes drop, right? John G says Natron is not walking through that door. And I wanted to respond to that quickly too, John. I don't know that they necessarily, first of all, I loved me some Jaguars era Natron memes. Like, people forgot what they forgot what he did for that San Diego team, even though they got crushed by the Niners in the Super Bowl. Natron means you don't have backs like that anymore. I'll say that. But all of the above to say, if balance is your goal, I don't necessarily think you're looking for a McCaffrey, a Barkley, and guys of that ilk in this offense. I mean, obviously you can get them for the right price. I feel like if there was some way, if this was the team Liam Cohen had, him for trading up for Ashton Genty, if he wasn't able to secure Travis Hunter, would make sense, just as an example, right? But I don't think that they're necessarily looking for that to land at this point, right? They're still trying to exercise all the other demons like we talk about from the bulky era and all of that. And this is why the price piece is so huge. Like, you blew my mind there for a minute. Etienne's salary is greater than that of all these other running backs combined. Is a wild.
Right. I will take a flyer on all those guys and just figure out, because again, we already knew what Travis Etienne's strengths and weaknesses were. He wasn't generally falling forward. He was absolutely explosive. But yeah, you also have a Bashaw too, who was also explosive. He just had a lot of shoestring tackles that I could probably name 6 or 7 tackles last season where he could have realistically gone for 20 plus yards on each of them if he doesn't just get tripped by a shoestring like diving defender. So overall, like, I think if you're going to give him all those same snaps from Travis Etienne from last year, and then give someone else, bring someone else in to be that power back and to be that in between the tackles guy, I'm fine with that, bro. And then you get cheaper at the position, because again, you're already 32nd in the league. It don't get no lower. 32nd in the league as far as how much resources you've put into this running back room in 2026 season. Like, I'm fine with that generally, but back to Trey Benson, the only thing that I would have a hang up on, the only reason I probably maybe wouldn't trade for him until like later in the offseason, like near week 1, is because he hasn't practiced this offseason just yet either, because of his injury from last season. Like, because that's what ended his season. So like when he returns, he's expected to return around training camp, which is around, funny consequence, the same time that C-Rod is expected to return to the field. So like, you might have 2 guys trying to ramp themselves up at the same time, but I guess you have a better chance of one of those guys actually being ready to go when this season starts.
You're the one using the phrase bites at the apple, just saying. Yeah,
that's all I'm here for. So like, it from my perspective, it'd be similar to that Luke Fortner, Colin Saunders preseason trade, where you're doing this like while the preseason games are going on.
I wondered if that one was going to come up in here. I thought it should. Anyways,
yeah. That's it. If you have any other comments, want to hop into before I get to this next one?
I have one I want to get into a little later. Timmy Devil does ask a very interesting question, but I think we'll touch on that as we go into the next area of perhaps who the Jags may hunt for.
All right. Well, I mean, if you didn't get that already, guys, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, like he's one of the few backs so far. Like he did well in a few metrics last season, and he's the only one I don't have to put an asterisk next to say like, oh no, he only had this many carries, so blah blah blah. No, he had a full workload last year in terms of carries. 163 carries last season, 611 yards, 8 touchdowns. That's not bad for a guy who was splitting a backfield with 2 other running backs at the time.
Correct.
He's 4th in rushing success rate, 4th highest EPA per attempt, and he's kind of at a minimum like one of those guys who's going to pick up whatever you scheme, which is something that Coach Cohen talked about multiple times last year, and he's talked about at least twice this offseason that I recall. So like he's similar to C-Rod. He's not flashy, but he's cheap, he's efficient, and he's a veteran, and he's kind of going to give you exactly what you want, maybe a little bit more if you can give him a little bit better blocking, like unlike that Kansas City Chiefs offensive line.
I was about to say, and the questions of the offensive line in Kansas City are a thing, right? And now, granted, their interior is particularly stout. It's their exterior that's off. And the argument is obviously, well, depending on what happens with Cole Van Landen, the inverse, right? Now, they did address it with Pregnon. Obviously,
Bocature.
Thank you. Bocature is another. We aren't talking enough about the revamps around the offensive line too. I think,
absolutely.
But that's the big piece of it too. And I'll go ahead and bring in the comment now. Timmy Devil brought up, can we blame Etienne when our O line is not that dominant? I like Hainsey, but he and Patrick are not road graders. Yeah, and that's the thing. Etienne was limited, but he scored points. Now he scored points in the passing game, so let's make sure we're clear on that.
Right.
But the piece that we need to address, in particular to Macari, is interior guard was addressed in the draft, right? Pregnon's a thing. I'm not necessarily saying he is the guy that he is the answer, but it was addressed, right? So
I got you. So I hate because it's a team sport. So you're always going to be able to say somebody didn't perform because someone else didn't perform, because that's how it works. Everybody is connected in a lot of ways.
And then there's also,
but also this coaching staff has expressly on multiple occasions stated, we judge running backs by their ability to do more than what is schemed. We judge running backs by their ability to get more, to break tackles. So that's part of the equation. Yes, the offensive line wasn't great, but we know, generally speaking, what you should be able to pick up on this play when we can pause the tape. If you've ever watched tape in high school, in college, at the NFL level, wherever you are, if you're listening, if you've ever watched film with other teammates, you know what I'm talking about. You will be in the film room with the rest of the team. The whole offense or the whole defense is sitting there, and they'll pause it. The coach will pause the tape. All right, cool. Right now, I got a hat on a hat. Why did you not hit this hole going in this direction? Or why did you not pick up 4 yards? Because you ran into the back of the old lineman. Or why did you not do this? Why did you not do that? You generally know how many yards you should pick up just based on that. And that's kind of what I'm saying. So you're saying, hey, the offensive line is imperfect. You're absolutely right. But that's the Blake Bortles argument all over. And we can't do that again. We are past the dark times. We cannot go back to that. Like, the point is, he should have picked up more yards and very many of those carries, but he is not that type of back. Unfortunately, that is the God honest truth. And they just wanted someone if you're going to have someone who's only going to pick up what I scheme, then at that point, I'd rather pay you that minimum or something close to that, because I'm not paying you $11 million a year to pick up what I scheme.
Certainly not as much where you have enough money to where you make more than the first 4 guys we talked about in this segment combined. Absolutely.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about, like, you got a Kareem Hunt, you got a Miles Sanders, you got a Najee Harris, you got a Raheem Mosert, if that's the case. Like, you have so many options of guys who will pick up what you scheme. Mosert's been doing that for the 49ers forever, since I was born. That dude feel like he's been in the league forever. Like, he is a prototypical free agency addition. Like, if things go wrong, like, I don't think that's a guy you bring in the offseason right now. I think that's a guy you bring in if you don't love. You don't love one of the undrafted free agent additions. You don't love what you're seeing from, goodness gracious, from C-Rod as far as injury or far as health, far as stamina, whatever it may be. Like, he's absolutely a short-term Band-Aid at 34 years old. But nevertheless, I do like him as one of the top, 4 options as far as the guys that we're talking about if things go south, like with the health of the running back room. Because again, 16th in rushing yards over expectation per attempt, second in the league as far as yards after contact per attempt. Like, he's good at just picking up what you want and what you schemed. Like a lot of these guys, he's probably going to be very cheap, $1.3 million. Again, you're still talking near that vet minimum range, and you're not going to get much better than that for that price range at this point.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. And by the way, with Florida and its demographics, we can be assured that we would need to get as much insure as possible if he is in the building. So
keep him in Miami. I'm just saying, but keep him. I mean, he's already in Miami. You send him no state taxes. Just keep him in Florida. At that point, if anything happens, just give him a quick call. Get him. Hey man, how much is it gonna take you to get off the couch? That's the conversation. Like, if it's gonna take you 1.3, that's it. Hey man, check on the way. Western Union. Let's go.
And
that's it. Any other comments before we wrap this bad boy up, bro?
Well, I did want to run a comment, but I wanted to hit the full list to wrap this part of it up here. There is a comment I want to touch down afterwards, and yeah, you have your full list here listing out, the other possibilities to explore. In a world where you have a front office that loves competition, and if dudes aren't handling business, they'll move. All off Fred Johnson. I think it's great you brought that up. Of course, we're talking Najee Harris, Raheem Mosert, Kareem Hunt, Antonio Gibson, which I find to be an interesting prospect. Miles Sanders, Cam Akers would also be interesting, as well as Alexander Madison and Trey Benson. Of course, he would require a trade. So yeah, if I were to ask you to add a favorite on the list, Travis, who you got?
So there were a few guys I didn't list on purpose. Well, sorry, there's a few guys I listed on purpose because they have experience in this offense, and I know that's important for this coaching staff, like a Cam Akers, like a Alexander Madison, because Alexander Madison played 2 years in this offense back with the Vikings, but he also had a 2025 neck surgery, so that's questionable. But Cam Akers also from the Rams played in this system, but again, he wasn't very good last season in that spot duty, so that's why I kind of just didn't even name him as a guy. If you do take a flyer on him, I don't mind. Not so significantly different than Amir Abdullah, like who's already currently on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster as another flyer veteran that you kind of picked up on. Antonio Gibson, another guy. Yeah, he does have special teams ability. He tore his ACL in week 5 last season, so you don't really have stats to kind of go off of as far as that's concerned, but he's used to working in the committee. He made some kind of sense there. But overall, if you're talking about these guys, I think Trey Benson's the easiest one because everybody loves the new guy who's younger, and he's a trade candidate for a reason. Like, he's not a guy who's being picked up off the street, because if he was on the street, he'd be on the roster somewhere.
True.
So that's the piece. But if you're not trying to give up resources, I'm with you. Chris Rodriguez was 6th in the league in rush EPA per attempt, 14th in the league in rushing yards over expectation per attempt, 8th in the league in run success rate, and 3rd in the league in yards after contact per attempt. So when I told you we know what these guys are looking for, because they've talked about it in previous pressers, and then when they signed Chris Rodriguez, they've talked about it again. That lets us know what they're looking for. So then we look for the guys who are good in 3 or 4 of those areas. That's Miles Sanders all day. And I actually like Miles Sanders even before doing this little project to figure out the numbers. I think that's fine as long as he's not injured, but that's always the question with him.
There's always the if, isn't it?
And if you're not looking at a guy like that, then I'm looking at a guy like a Kareem Hunt, because again, I know what he's going to give you. He's stable, if that makes any kind of sense. So I'm looking at Trey Benson, Kareem Hunt, Trey Benson as your number 1 guy, Miles Sanders maybe 2, Kareem Hunt as your 3rd guy, Raheem Mosert again breaks that top 4 as your veteran guy. You bring in, break glass in case of emergency, get him off the couch to give us some semblance of a run game.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing, and I'm seeing this in here too, from Preston PT Phone Home. I don't think C-Rod fits our finesse run blocking. He needs room. He can't change direction at the line of scrimmage, which Etienne, let me get my glasses. No, which Etienne did consistently. Just need a good first down gain to help with 2nd or 3rd down. I see, that's the thing. Comparing C-Rod to Etienne isn't the move, in my opinion, right? That's what for. Now, granted, and I know I've seen it earlier in here in this show in comments before, and heck, I've even said it myself. In the spirit of getting away from predictability, I see why you would compare the two, but I think the other element is also what we're not talking about: durability. Etienne had issues at times being a between the tackles dude of getting banged up on occasion. It didn't happen last year because they were doing a lot of it in the pass game with him. He was truly a Kamara type in the offense last year.
I love whenever I had these conversations with PT, with Preston, because he's very active in the Duval Dive community. He's very active. I mean, he's a channel member. I mean, so you know what this is. So we're talking all the time, and we're responding all the time. Just so you guys know, members to the channel, you get priority responses as far as comments are concerned. We have full 15 thread 15 comment conversations on the Duval Dive YouTube, and yeah, he has a certain
don't kill me entirely, but there have been plenty of non-members that have contributed today on the dive.
Also true. That's also true. I'm just making sure they know, like, I don't miss channel members for no way, no how. But the gist of it is he has his feelings on Etienne and the strength of his game. My underlying point for Etienne is the fact that this is not a finesse run game from my perspective. I think it became that, but I also don't.
That's coming, Finn. Yeah.
That's not what they want to be. What you are is not what you want to be. You don't draft an Emmanuel Pregnant if you want to be a finesse run. If you want to be a zone blocking team, because that's a man gap dude. That's a power dude.
You don't get Boerkertzer if you're trying to be a finesse run team. For goodness sake. Right.
So you draft the guys for what you want to be, no different than you dress for the job you want. You don't dress. That's kind of how these are the rules. I didn't make them. This is how this goes. So like they got the guys for what they want to be, for the aiming point, and now you get the running backs that you're going to put in that spot to run how you need this new offense to be run through. If that makes any kind of sense. Sure. So if you don't think he fit what you were, good, because what you were working in the second half of the season, and maybe I'll get y'all the stats.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe I'll get you the stats that show just what it was, because Travis Etienne and that Jacksonville Jaguars run game was on fire to start the season last year, and they fell off like crazy. They were bottom of the, I won't say bottom of the league because I don't think that'd be an over exaggeration, but they were near that bottom part.
Yeah, sure, for sure.
A lot.
They weren't at the top of the league after those first 4 weeks, were they? Exactly.
Yes. So the team knew they needed to change something.
And you know what this sounds like hints of, if I may? There was a conversation that we had about a guy who had a career year here in Jacksonville. And somebody came on this show, one of our favorite guys. Let's just say people love to see it. We have troops of people who come in to see him. Ben Troop was all over Evan Ingram. Oh, why'd you get rid of Harris? Now, suddenly those comments seem very strange.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm not saying Bashaw Tootin is going to make the same impact. I'm not saying that C-Rod is going to make the same impact, but I'm not even going to pull up the comment. I know it was Social Alki that said it, and we've said it too. This is replacing Travis Etienne in the aggregate, but you're really not trying to replace him in the aggregate because you're trying to change your identity to run more 12 and 13 and power personnel, period.
I agree with you. You're not asking the right questions if you're asking, is Bashaw Tootin better than Travis Etienne? You're asking the wrong question, because it was always supposed to be a duo. The question is Travis Etienne and Bashaw Tootin better or worse than C-Rod and Bashaw Tootin? And if the answer is still Travis Etienne and Bashaw Tootin, then, I mean, all right, cool. Then I guess you're going to have to figure that out. But if the answer is, oh, no, they're about the same, and you just saved, I don't know, $1 bajillion, then maybe you may have made the right decision moving forward. Like, we'll see kind of where that lands.
Yeah, I like it. I like all that a lot. Wow, Travis, fantastic stuff. By the way, this is my first full Wednesday live stream back. Yeah, I did miss it. Listen, I'm not here to tell you it was as fun as, me hanging out with my wife, but I got to do that the entire week. This hour I didn't get last week, and I did miss it. I'll put it that way. So there you go. Yeah, and actually here Timmy Devil makes the point that really drives our entire episode today. I would agree. If they brought in a better running back than Rodriguez. And that's the point, Timmy. Maybe they'll still feel like they have to once they get through the training camp. And then thanks, Social. Appreciate you, man.
That is the question. Better running back and whoever that would have been this past season for less money, because the money still does matter. And that's well, yeah. I mean, we're gonna figure it out though. Because this is why this is the season that's gonna make or break Stones, dude. No, you're not wrong. And the Suns thing, yeah, we needed power in those short down situations, and they addressed that in the offseason. We'll see how it goes. That's fair. They did attempt to address it. We will see where it lands if it was enough, but that you at least see the aiming point. We don't know where it landed because no games have been played. I'm looking forward to these guys getting pads on, mostly for the offensive line, but out absolutely in reference to those running backs. So we'll see. But yeah, Social Aki, shout out to you. I trust in Stones. I trust in Jimmy. And for the most part, until the games are played, that's probably where we're going to be. And if once the games are played, maybe y'all will disagree. They'll be like, nope, this ain't it. And you know what? I'll be right with you. All I've ever said was they've earned the right to hang themselves. They've earned the right to give themselves additional rope to figure out what it's going to be, because 13 wins is 13 wins, and I don't give a damn how you look at it. Like, that is what it is.
For now, it's with stones and cones, baby. I'm with it. There you go. I have nothing else to add with that. So with that in mind, champion, tell the world where you could be found.
You already know. BigCatCountry.com. Take a look at our write-up following Minicamp Day 2, posted this afternoon. We got a stock up, stock down article from my biggest takeaways as far as the players who played well. You kind of already saw a few of those guys on the Duval Dive recap, the 8-minute recap that we have for you guys after all of the OTAs and minicamps. But also you will see a few guys who I didn't mention as far as stock up and stock down. So take a look at that. And again, even if you don't read, we still appreciate, we appreciate all clicks. We appreciate clicks from your baby. We appreciate clicks from your family members. It don't matter. Have your local librarian read Travis's latest article over at BigCatCountry.com. If you can't read, I'm team click the link no matter what. Please click the link. And if you're listening, speaking of clicking the link, man, if you are listening to us on the audio side, please rate and review us. Help us out there. Apparently, it gets us paid. I don't know how this works. And on the YouTube side, click that like button. I see how many of y'all listening. I hope and pray we have that many likes on this stream, man. Because again, it pays us and it costs you nothing but the little click of a button, and you already own here, man. Help a brother out. But yeah, BigCatCountry.com, Travis D. Holmes, and all the socials. And please let the folks know where you can be found now that you are back from thunderclapping in the Caribbean.
This dude said thunderclap in the Caribbean.
And one of them, and the two of them, and the three of them, I will find them. Yes, all that.
I say, Kyle's so glad not to see us on the you're damn right, especially with as injured as they were. Oh my God, I can't imagine that same group trying to face this. Yeah, no, Preston. I don't laugh at documentaries. Okay. Anyways, of course, I'm Kyle Nash, the student of the game. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at the SOTG. Find me on Facebook as the student of the game. Check out my writings with UCF Night Zone and Locked On UCF, covering the UCF Knights football, basketball, and other things, as well as my work on the Storm Surge podcast. That's right, social. I'll be covering James Robeson this week as he's in the United Bowl. While the Storm didn't make it, we will be giving you coverage. Jake Ferraro will be in DC once again to cover that action, and we're working on getting Storm player Tavante Beckett to join into the pregame show off some of his ball-knowing skills there and break that down. Me and BP will be excited to have you if you're interested in that. Of course, my work when they're playing, covering the Orlando Magic, is a thing as well. So listen, an honor, joy, and privilege. And hey, General, good to see you at the end here. Yeah, C-Rod is a between the tackles guy, and it tells me a lot about the focus. Exactly. They're looking for that 12 and 13 personnel and that toughness upgrade, so to speak. So with all that being said, for my personal champion, Travis D. Holmes, for all you divers, once again, reminding me how hard you kill it in the comments. And don't act like I didn't see you representing while I was out. While Jordan DeLugo came in last week, with special thanks to get him, before I forget, Generation Jaguar. I almost said Jaguars United. Don't worry, we'll be talking to him soon enough.
He'll be coming on, soon.
That's right. So with all that in mind, until next time, everyone, class dismissed.